Beautiful cars, lavish mansions, expensive toys, life of the super rich. But these are nervous times for billionaires around the world. Even Facebook backer Sean Parker of Napster fame recently tweeted, "I have a whole new set of problems to deal with now. Security, extortion attempts, kidnapping threats, death threats, etc." And he asks, was life better before? Experts say the global 1% is casting a wary eye on social instability. In fact, a recent survey by the Pew Research Center found that the wealthy are increasingly concerned about class conflict.
So there is something to be worried about, you think?
Yes.
Brian Yulee is part of the Occupy movement in West Palm Beach. He says a small minority in his group should make billionaires uneasy.
I would prefer that it never come to anything like that, but, you know, people are tired of feeling as if they're just being stepped on and don't matter.
But at the Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholders meeting in Omaha, Nebraska, the threat isn't necessarily an Occupy protester. Here, where literally tens of thousands of people are clamoring to get close to the legendary Warren Buffett, everything and everyone is a potential threat. The Oracle may be the brains here, but this man is the brawn behind the Buffett operation. Dan Clark is Buffett's bodyguard.
You're going to turn the client from the threat.
And he got the job practically by accident after a chance run-in with Buffett's daughter, Susie, at this bagel shop in Omaha almost 20 years ago.
Absolutely not. Did I know where it would go? Part of the things that did help me, though, was my past training.
Working as a police officer at the time, Clark offered his protective services on the spot and soon became Buffett's shadow, most prominently during Berkshire Hathaway gatherings where he's on the lookout for anyone suspicious.
We've had people that have shown up before at an event with a client, and they are so fixated on the client that when the rest of the crowd is acting normally, they're presenting normal behavior. This person is not.
Clark has since started his own private security firm, Clark International.
Whether it's getting on and off a corporate jet,
Or protecting somebody in a public place.
Clark draws from a network of more than 100 security experts, agents with law enforcement and military backgrounds, who train and prepare for multiple scenarios. Like how to plow through an ambush.
they're constantly practicing high-speed maneuvers here on this test track so they can get the protectees out of any situation they find themselves in. And they're paying total attention to detail, including where you put your hands on the wheel so that you can make sure you can control the car even when the airbag is popped out right in your face.
But protective detail means keeping clients safe, even in the most routine circumstances.
Now, they rehearse arrivals and departures over and over again because one of the most vulnerable points for the super rich is when they arrive at a public event. Each man has a key area of responsibility protecting the front and the back, and also making sure that the protectee knows where he's going.
Clark has reportedly protected Sarah Palin and actor George Clooney, and he won't name any other clients. But they tend to be high-profile personalities who, like Warren Buffett, attract large crowds.
At Clark International, the six-man diamond formation is used for the most dangerous situations, the most crowded rooms. Each man at a different point, each responsible for a different area. It's all about protecting the protectee.
But sometimes the protectees need more than just manpower when it comes to security. Whether they're at home or globe-trotting, the dangerously rich are fully loaded. Coming up, the big guns of billionaire security. In the line of fire with the man who follows Warren Buffett's every move.
Only the paranoid survive.
And survival of the richest, anywhere they go. Plus, taking down an intruder with this stuff.
These are 15 shotgun shells.
Or potentially something much deadlier. And being dangerously rich in risky territory.
For the wealthy, one of the most dangerous times can be when they're on the move around the world, often in a private Gulfstream jet like this one. When we come back, more secrets of keeping the super rich safe. For most Americans, home security means an alarm system or maybe a dog. But for this house in Hollywood, it's a totally different picture.
The nice thing about this heliport, it was designed to take excessive loads.
Al Corby is the president of SAFE, which stands for Strategically Armored and Fortified Environments, a firm that designs custom, sometimes hidden protection for the uber-rich. Corby uses this mansion in the Hollywood Hills as a show home for his security systems.
We've gotten in, broken in the house. We're right here outside the safe core. What we want to do is stop them here. Let me show you how you do it. Now we come into the safe core.
Okay.
This door, ballistic, bomb-proof. You close the door, throw that one bolt. Now my wife and children are the safest people in LA.
And this just doesn't feel like a panic room or a bomb shelter at all. This feels like a little girl's room.
That's exactly the point. You have full ballistics, you have surveillance, the camera, you have full connectivity. The kids can actually be on their iPod looking at the whole house. All right, now we come into the master bedroom suite. You notice everything still seems open, the kids' rooms and all.
Oh, this is gorgeous.
And even though you don't see any signs of security, it's a fortress. You've got ballistic walls, ceilings, and floors. You even have a bed that's sitting on a ballistic frame.
So if there's an explosion underneath here, what happens?
The blast will go out in 3 directions. Not that anything could get up through this floor, but if it did, this is an added level of security. All right, within the safe core is a safe room, and it's the command center where everything happens. You have all of the control and conveniences you could hope for.
So you can see the entire house, every camera in the house, and you can control all the doors in the house, is that right?
Everything, and communications.
So show me how that works.
I said leave. Now let's say he doesn't. He wants to do something, then we can go ahead and deploy tactical right in that area.
This is Todd Parrott. He handles tactical and hardening for SAFE. And Todd, you've got a device here. This is terrifying.
Well, these are 15 shotgun shells.
And you mount this into the wall or into the ceiling or where?
Either. We put it behind walls, behind ceilings, so that it blends with the architecture.
And when somebody comes into the house, you can remotely press a button, and what happens?
Well, first of all, it's not something that we do in the U.S. It's something we do overseas. And it requires a series of 3 or 4 authentications before it can be deployed. And then,
when you fire this off, could anybody survive underneath this?
not a chance.
While most devices aren't lethal, many of Corby's systems can be controlled remotely. Billionaires aren't just paying top dollar for protection, they want top-notch convenience.
Security isn't something that should make you feel hunkered down and restricted. On the contrary, it should liberate you. Once you have it, you can go on with your life.
Using this iPad, or even just a remote control like you might have for your car, you can operate all of this home's tactical defensive systems, including this fog blast, which is designed to incapacitate or disorient any intruder who might be coming into the home.
The goal is to keep the bad guys out, but ultra-wealthy homeowners also want to know that every precaution is taken in the event they're locked in themselves.
Premium steel frame.
And just steps away from that beautiful bedroom is a bathroom that looks normal, but is really anything but. Over here in the shower, they've got a biological wash in case of chemical attack. And on this side of the room, they've got a week's worth of supplies right here in the safe core. And if that's not enough, this house has a bomb shelter.
Now we're at the lower level. We're 20 feet underground, and you notice we just came through another one of the blast doors.
Another bomb door.
Another bomb door. This whole area is an NBC shelter.
And what does that mean?
It's protection against nuclear, biological, and chemical, all known threats.
So this is the bomb shelter.
This is the bomb shelter.
Let's take a look.
The New Day bomb shelter.
So you have food and provisions upstairs, but this is where you keep the serious stuff.
Exactly.
How much stuff do you have down here?
Upstairs was a day, maybe a week. So if you had something like an earthquake, something that you'd have to get through a short time. Here, you have enough for at least 3 months to get through a flu, any kind of serious biological.
So you've got food, you've got some gear here. Explain what that gear is.
These are backpacks. If you had to leave the facility, you put the backpacks on, you go out. You have gas masks, backpacks, and you can put an NBC suit on and leave.
But you're going to be down here 3 months. You've only got about a week's worth of champagne here. I'm a little bit worried about you.
The cost for what Corby calls entry-level protection, up to $3 million. Or, as he puts it,
it can be fabulously more expensive.
The going rate for fabulous? $10 million, the price of one of Corby's latest projects.
It would be full life support systems that would keep these people and sustain them for generations. even if they were the last 2 people on Earth.
So these people, they're not worried about a hurricane, they're worried about the end of the world.
Well, there wouldn't be an end of the world. It would just be an end to our world. They'll still be here.
Still to come, dangerously rich
They retrieved a shotgun.
and the target of a bizarre underground crime. Plus, high-flying into the most dangerous places for billionaires.
We've brought passengers in, dropped them.
Why 30,000 feet
Designed to stave off any incoming missile attacks.
could be safer than being grounded. And securing this $50 million mega yacht far from home and far from any help.
High security on the high seas. When we come back, more security secrets of the super rich.
Contact front! Moving!
Get up, and I'm coming.
Bodyguards, panic rooms.
We're going into the bomb shelter.
The super rich can afford to manage every potential risk factor.
One of the biggest vulnerabilities for the super rich is when they're on the move. And at the top end, that means traveling by private jet at airports like this one in Palm Beach, Florida, where they specialize in protecting the jets and the people on board.
Florida-based John Cosenza is a security consultant for private aviation. He says the dangers aren't always a mile high.
We've brought passengers in, dropped them, and then repositioned the aircraft.
You fly the aircraft
Fly
out
the aircraft out to a safer location where it's safe for the aircraft and the crew, and then come back and pick up the passengers.
So which airports do you not want to leave your airplane in?
Well, there's some in sub-Saharan Africa that are a little dicey. Being on the plane and flying is probably the safest place that people can be.
On the tarmac, the security threats can be countless, sometimes deadly.
You can do things outside the aircraft to put it in jeopardy if it does get off the ground.
What do you mean?
Well, things to the engine, things that could be put into things like the wheel wells.
And once airborne, the super wealthy leave nothing to chance.
At the ultra high end, the security experts tell us there are a couple of dozen aircraft in the world, like this private Gulfstream G4, that have electronic countermeasures designed to stave off any incoming missile attacks. Those countermeasures can include things like jamming systems to block infrared tracking systems for missiles.
But at sea, mega yachts and their wealthy owners are especially enticing to pirates and terrorists as high-yield and highly visible targets. In fact, experts say most yachts are much less secure and much more vulnerable than their owners' homes or private jets.
For billionaires, sometimes the ultimate toy can become the ultimate danger zone. These super yachts cruise far away from civilization and far away from any police response. In terms of security, they've got to be totally self-sufficient.
Land security, people have their homes with fences around them, and they have security people, law enforcement people, within minutes being able to respond to their homes.
Retired Coast Guard Vice Admiral Brian Peterman specializes in what he says is head of state level protection for luxury super yachts. His goal, turning super yachts into floating fortresses, because when it comes to being out at sea, the response time may not be measured in minutes, it could be days.
You have to be able to take measures on your boats to be able to maintain your safety and security.
You're on your own when you're out here.
Exactly, until the good guys can come and rescue you.
We're inside the master suite of the super yacht Harbor Island. And a security expert can take a space like this and make it into a giant panic room with ballistic glass to protect against bullets and 2 or 3 days worth of food so a family can live safely in here even if the pirates are out there.
It protects you from gunfire from the outside. They also have communications on board where you can alert the law enforcement people to come and assist you. These provide the ability for the crew to maintain command and control of the vessel.
One of the most important aspects of super yacht security is understanding exactly who's stepping on board your boat. This yacht actually has a security system embedded in the deck that can detect every footstep and immediately train cameras on anybody who's coming on board the yacht.
6 staterooms, a posh dining room, a sun deck. Annual maintenance alone on super yachts like this costs about 10% of the yacht's overall value. And then to keep everyone on board safe,
Expect to pay somewhere about 7 to 8% of the entire value of the boat, adding really top-level security measures into it.
This is a yacht we're standing on now that is going for $54 million.
That's correct.
Talking about a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but the stakes are high as well.
According to U.S. Navy records, 4 yachts were hijacked by pirates just last year.
There's been a tragic end to a very tense situation.
In one of those attacks, which American officials called one of the most violent episodes since the modern-day piracy epidemic began, the owners and their guests were shot and killed. Up next, On Guard.
Back leg up from here. Always.
Hand-to-hand combat with the man the Oracle of Omaha is investing in to protect him.
I'm absolutely emotionally prepared to kill somebody if I have to.
Fired up and downrange.
This is firearms training.
And inside Dan Clark's arsenal. When Dangerously Rich, billionaire super security returns. Greenwich, Connecticut, 2003.
A bizarre kidnapping over the weekend.
Billionaire hedge fund manager Eddie Lampert, hailed by some as the next Warren Buffett, is kidnapped at gunpoint in this underground parking garage.
They retrieved a shotgun.
The abducted financier is released unharmed after being held for more than 30 hours.
It was one of those seminal moments.
Whether it's a serious crime or an embarrassing moment like media mogul Rupert Murdoch hit with a pie in the face, bodyguard Dan Clark's job
Back leg up.
is to thwart every type of attack, no matter how harmless or hostile.
Andy Grove said, only the paranoid survive, and that's my job, is to take all these things into consideration.
Working as Warren Buffett's protective detail for almost 2 decades now, Clark,
And I'm coming in here like
who spent almost 24 years with the Omaha Police Department, has made a name for himself in the private security world.
Pull my weapon out.
Contact front!
He's recruited about 100 men and women to work with his own firm, Clark International.
Gun.
Despite their police and military experience, Clark's agents still routinely train with him. In addition to Warren Buffett, Clark says he serves a roster of other high-profile clients he's not allowed to name. No matter who he's protecting, though,
Grip here.
his team needs to be ready to stop and sometimes incapacitate an assailant. But some situations could trigger more lethal action, and they need to be just as prepared to respond.
This is firearms training. They're using real bullets today, and most of these officers are using Glock handguns like this Glock 40. They're standing right up close to these targets today because they expect in a real-life situation they'll be as close to the assailant as about 7 feet.
And key to maintaining control of the situation,
And look.
attention to every vulnerability from every direction.
Looking for more threats.
Now, one of the most important skills they learn is how to clear the protectee out of the way and still hit the target. Are you emotionally prepared to kill somebody if you have to?
I'm absolutely emotionally prepared to kill somebody if I have to. If you hesitate, it can be very deadly for you, and also if you're protecting somebody, obviously.
Stay there and do the traditional.
Clark says he's never actually had to fire a weapon protecting a client.
Out of the way, and then we're going to attack and get our weapon on target.
He says he avoids using force and tries to minimize any potential risks with advanced planning and detail. And while he doesn't have to always like the people he protects,
There's been a number of gang members and people that I've official capacity had to protect or provide security for. I didn't necessarily care for them.
he says he's fortunate his clients generally have, as he says, a certain amount of gratitude that they've given back.
You can't help but to develop a relationship with the folks that you're working for. At the same time, you do have to remember what your job is and what you're there for.
Despite Warren Buffett's very public demeanor, Clark is private about his relationship with the Berkshire Hathaway CEO. And the fact is, Clark can't protect Buffett from everything. But some of the super rich are plotting ways to survive, no matter what.
When we have an apocalypse and all this is destroyed, and the last 2 people left alive on the planet Earth are going to be 2 billionaires.
Right.
Adam and Eve.
And if you got to start over, that's probably a good place to start with Adam and Eve.